I thought my lack of progress was normal. I had been lifting for years, so I assumed slow gains just came with the territory. It turns out I was wrong. I wasn't progressing slowly. I was just making the exact same 3 mistakes over and over again. Alright, mistake number 1. I'm going to open this up with an example. We all know that one super anorexic, skinny dude that walks around just looking like a walking advertisement for anorexia, right? You all know if you go talk to that guy, he's going to be like, oh, hey, I eat more than you. I eat more than every fat person. I'm just... Shut up, dude. Well, the truth of it is it's all thermodynamics, obviously. You know, calories in, calories out. Your body burns them throughout the day, and your body weight kind of reflects either the speed of your the speed of your metabolism mixed with how many calories you've eaten. Well, mistake number 1 that I made is intuitively eating as one of those people. So naturally, whatever size you are, you're going to end up lying to yourself at some point in time. If you are a fat person, you're going to say that you're eating a lot less than you are. If you are a light person, you're going to say that you're eating a lot more than you are. Well, I was intuitively eating for years, right? And for powerlifting in the sake of the sport, that's pretty good because I stayed around the same weight all throughout the years while getting stronger because it was a lot more neurological adaptations. Well, if you want to put on more size and more strength rapidly, then intuitively eating is never going to actually get you as fast as you can to actually get there. Now, do you need to track every single calorie macro that it enters and leaves your body? No. But what you do need to do is weigh yourself at the same time every day after you just take a freaking huge piss. Then you go out there and you just weigh yourself. That's it. You weigh yourself at the same time after you take a huge leak or maybe a massive dump in the morning, same time in the morning, not the evening. In the evening, you've eaten, your glycogen stores, your carbs and everything has been fully replenished from you eating all day. You're hydrated. Your bowels might be full, you know. You might be full of shit, full of piss. Who knows, man? Well, the issue is that weight can be inconsistent from the beginning to the end of the day. Hell, after breakfast, obviously your weight's going to be different. After a shower, hell, your weight's going to be different because there's water in your hair. Voice crack. Well, my number 1 mistake was intuitively eating and not weighing myself at the right times. You need to weigh yourself at the same time every morning at a time that you can actually manageably get every single morning. And you also need to weigh out all the food. Now, you might have a rough estimation, right? But every once in a while, the issue was that after, years of eating the same foods and things, and it's like, I have an estimation of how much these foods are. Well, over time, my brain slowly just started to skew those numbers. You need to revisit those numbers every once in a while. So, for instance, let's go ahead and just open up your refrigerator, open up the tub of Greek yogurt, reread the label, understand how much you're going to put in there. And if you have something that you eat every day, hell, whip out the food scale once or twice and just go ahead and measure it. Use some cups if you need to. Then you'll know for certain if you are in a deficit or a surplus. I was stuck at 170 pounds for probably a year, maybe a year and a half. Is that optimal? Hell no. I just recently got to 180. Now, at my stage in lifting, progress is really, really slow. But nonetheless, if you're bulking correctly, even in a lean bulk, you should be putting on at least half a pound of mass per week, whether that be muscle or fat. You need to put on fat to gain muscle. Why? Because, well, your body's not in the most optimal state for muscle growth if you're like super duper lean. Your body needs to be like, oh hey, we have an abundance of resources, let's go and do it. And whenever you have abundance of resources, you're going to end up start putting a little bit into fat stores. It's just the way things work, and there's no such thing as like 100% lean bulk that's ever going to get you anywhere like long term. Now for beginners, I would 100% recommend it. I lean bulked for like years, which was like half a recomp, half a lean bulk. I was losing fat, gaining muscle, and I really wasn't fat. I was skinny fat. But I think a recomp lean bulk is great for your first 2 years of lifting, but once you get into the more advanced stages, or as soon as your progress is just completely flatlined, then you need to switch over to a real bona fide bulk where you're putting on just a little bit of fat every week, but that scale is actually moving. Mistake number 2, I wasn't tracking anything seriously. What does that mean? Well, of course, you know the big three. If you powerlift, then you know your three maxes, right? But the issue is like, what about all the accessory movements? What about your actual rep work? You know, you might think just training hard, which is what I thought. I thought if I just go to failure every set, then I'll make progress over time, which is true to some extent. But for some reason, this has had like a deep, profound effect on my actual training. Is like genuinely just like, what do you call it? Religiously tracking my stuff. Religiously tracking my lifts has made a world of a difference in my actual lifting. Now, how do you do this? Well, there's free apps. You got Fit Notes, you got Boost Camp. There's a lot of free programs and stuff that you can use. But if you want to fast track your progress, check out my program in the description. But back to the point. Even though training to failure is actually the only, thing that you really need to do to achieve like enough muscle damage to grow, if you don't track your lifts, then you're never going to know if you're actually growing, right? We've all been stuck on one weight for a very long time, but you don't even know if you're progressing through that weight unless if you write it down. Because, you might see that you're adding 5 pounds here, there, or another, but the issue is like, you go to failure every workout, but, you're not actually progressing unless if you're writing it down, because then you don't know. Now, for me, if I would have wrote down my workouts for the past, like, few years, or maybe for the past year, because I did religiously track before, and then I stopped, and then that's kind of what led to my like stagnation for a little while I was like preparing for my powerlifting meet. Well, once you get back into tracking, then you can start to isolate variables. You can start to be like, hey, my sleep isn't that good. Hey, my nutrition isn't that good. And for me, especially, the nutrition was a real problem. I was not eating enough, and I am still struggling to eat enough, but I have managed to put on some very, very noticeable amount of weight, and it's mostly lean. I've actually still maintained my body composition pretty damn well while putting on a lot of size and strength into my lifts. Well, let's get into the next point. Mistake number 3. This is a big one. I need you guys to listen. Everybody has an ego for something, all right? We all have an ego for something. Unless if you are a depressed lunatic, then we all have a point of pride, right? Even if it's not, prideful to someone else or worthy of ego to someone else. Now, let's just say that you're an absolute twerp and you bench like 3 pounds. Well, your working weight is 1 pound. You don't, but like this person doesn't want to, this person doesn't want to be caught with 1 pound on the bar. They can bench 3 pounds. 3. They don't want to be caught with 1. That's embarrassing. Well, this person needs to be caught with 1 pound. Because why? Well, in order to grow, you do actually need some volume work. You can't just continuously keep going into this like 2 to 3 rep range with a certain weight because you don't want to look like a twerp, and you can't just like quit lifting as soon as you get below a certain amount. Now, for me personally, after I managed to be able to start like doing reps with 4 or 5 on the squat and the deadlift, I didn't want to go below that on working weights. For me, going below that, even though 3.5 plates is perfectly fine, and it's still perfectly somewhat impressive to most people, to me it wasn't. I knew I could do 4 or 5 for a set of like 5 to 8, right? But in reality, after I do that set of 5 to 8, what I really needed to do was do a drop set. I needed to go down to 365 or so, 385, and just bite the bullet of like not having 4 plates on the bar. So for a long time, whenever I was competing in powerlifting, it was equipped powerlifting. We had squat suits, we had a bunch of stuff on. And once you take all that stuff off, your max drops. Obviously. For me, I was stuck on my old max numbers for a while, and I was trying to do my normal working weights, and I was able to do my normal working weights, but it's like I can't do it for the same amount of sets. My strength remained surprisingly almost the same because I put on a lot of muscle and stuff, but my working weights need to go down more drastically because there isn't equipment to assist me anymore. Now, I have some wraps and stuff, but I don't have a quintuple ply insane Spartan friggin' squat suit anymore. I need to bite the bullet and just go ahead and just take off the 4 plates, put on 3.5, so I can do my tempo work so I can actually get stronger. So all of you people, I understand, maybe, I have a buddy. Hey, Joey. He actually dropped off his ego recently. rite of passage, you know. About it, this sounds religious. Just he dropped off his ego recently. He's been indoctrinated into the Todd Gibson aesthetic powerlifting cult. Anyways, no, I'm joking. But my boy put down the ego pretty soon, you know, pretty lately. Ironically, my girlfriend hasn't. This is for you. When you bench like 95 pounds maximum, all right, no one cares about the difference between 95 pounds and the bar. Your working weight is the bar. Stop being a twerp and just get your damn reps in. Stop being like, oh, but I want my 5 on the side. You look like SpongeBob, bro, with this little like freaking teddy bears. It doesn't matter, okay? If you want to get past the point where you need to use the bar as like actual working weight to do something, you need to go down to the bar to grow. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck in this infinite limbo of just using just twerpy weights, which you're a girl. My girlfriend weighs like 95 pounds, by the way. Or 100? I don't know. She's a small lady, you know. Her bench is actually not that bad at all compared to her body weight. So speaking on this as well, compete with heavier people, but don't be depressed if you get beaten by them, because it's not that impressive for them. Just know that if you're even in the same running as someone that's 100 pounds heavier than you, then you've already won. And as for the boy Joey, all right, his bench max is 205. Over time, that actually has gone down for a little bit because he stopped benching for a while. He's been more focused on aesthetics. Jobo didn't want to go below a certain weight, and he wanted to warm up with the same shit as me. Now, just recently, my boy stopped copying my warm-up, all right? It's different. If your max is 205, then you don't go bar 135, 185, 225. Well, he didn't. He stops there. But, you know, you don't go bar 185. No. When your max is 205, you start off with 95 pounds. You know, start the bar, 10 reps, 95 pounds, 5 or 6 reps. Then you go on to 135, or maybe even a 35 if you're feeling a little bit slow that day. And you go ahead and do about 3 or 4 more reps. Then you get up to about your working weight, which is 155. And then you just go, you know, maybe if it's a single powerlifting day, you just do super slow, just like 1, 2, 3, 4, touch, up. Then you're good. Then you could do some working weights after that. You know, you don't really need to drop down for that. 155, this is a pretty light day in the Jobo example. But you can start doing some sets of like 5 or 6 reps or so. And you can just keep it really controlled and steady, and you have a great warm-up to get you there. My boy, stop maxing it. Anyways, guys, I can't actually read. That was a joke. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to jumpstart your journey in lifting, by all means, my course is not required to get into lifting. You can get a lot done with these videos, but if you want to fast track and have all the knowledge you need right there in front of you, go check out my aesthetic powerlifting course. Until next time.